Dare.
The one who watches from the well. There is a well behind an abandoned church in Nueva Ecija, hidden by tall grass. And the shadows of mango trees, no water inside, no rope, no bucket, only darkness that swallows sound. Locals say no one should speak near it, especially at night, especially. If you are alone, they say, someone lives inside, not a ghost, not a spirit, just something that listens, waits, and remembers every voice that echoes down years ago. A boy named Tomas dared his cousin to yell his full name into the well, then laugh and spit inside it. They were only children trying to scare each other. But that night, Tomas woke up to the sound of dripping, not rain, not a leak, but wet footsteps pacing in slow circles around his bed. His name whispered again, and again, never shouted, never angry, just soft like a breath from behind a wall. His parents found him the next morning standing outside barefoot, eyes open, not blinking, repeating the same phrase. He knows me now. Tomas never spoke again. The well has no official story, no news article, no marker. But those who live nearby never build near it, never lean over the edge, because sometimes when you walk too close, you feel the ground pull downward like gravity deepens around that place. Some say they've seen. Eyes not glowing, not red, just eyes open in the dark, staring, unmoving, unblinking, as if they had been watching long before you arrived. Others say that once you look down and speak even a single word, your voice stays trapped, echoing every night until it no longer sounds like you. Ella, a college student doing research on forgotten religious sites, visited the area and ignored the warnings. She took photos, leaned over the stones, whispered hello. Just once that night, her voice recorder played back something she never said, a slow whisper, "You are louder now. I can hear you better." She left the project unfinished, refused to say why, deleted her files, and refused to talk about wells. 1 month later, someone found her notebook half buried beside the well, her name scratched out on every page. Something else written over it again and again, "Mine now, mine now, mine now." The well is still there, overgrown, covered in vines. The wind doesn't touch it, the birds never perch on its edge. And those who walk near it say it feels like being watched, not by something waiting to hurt you, but something that already chose you and is only waiting for you to come back. The radio that played after midnight in a quiet barangay between Batangas and Cavite. There's a second-hand shop that never opens in the morning. Its hours are strange, the windows are always dusty, the door always sticks. But the lights turn on exactly at 11 p.m. and off at 3. No one sees who owns it. But sometimes new items appear inside without anyone seeing them, brought in. One item has never been sold, a small wooden radio sitting in the far left corner, cracked volume knob, frayed cord. Speaker barely holding together. The owner says it doesn't work, but people who walk past at night hear it playing faint music, old songs not found on any station. A jeepney driver named Paul once waited for a friend outside the shop during a power outage. Yet the radio glowed dimly, its dial lit soft orange. He swore he heard someone speaking through its slow voice, distorted, saying a name 3 times, not his name, not his friends. He got chills and left without waiting. Days later, he returned during the day. Asked about the radio, the man behind the counter simply said you shouldn't have heard it. That means it heard you too. Another customer once tried to buy it. The man warned him. But he insisted that night. He called his brother in a panic. Said the radio wouldn't turn off even unplugged. It kept speaking in voices he recognized, but couldn't place his voice. Was last heard on a voicemail whispering. They're trying to come through. After that the radio was returned, placed exactly where it had always been, as if it never left. Now no one asks about the shopkeeper. Says the radio isn't a machine. It's a doorway, something unfinished, something incomplete, like a memory that plays itself over and over, searching for an ending. If you pass the shop and hear it playing, don't stop, don't listen, because the moment it plays your name, you've already answered, and the signal never loses you again. The man who walked without sound in a remote sitio somewhere between Isabella and Quirino. There's a narrow trail that leads through thick trees, a path locals avoid after sunset, not because of animals or spirits, but because of the man who walks there without sound. He has no name, no known face, only a shape, tall, thin, always wearing an old hat and coat even in the heat. No footsteps, no breathing, just movement like a shadow, not bound by light, they say. He appears when someone walks alone with nothing but silence. Around them Marina, a schoolteacher, once stayed late after a village meeting. The others warned her to wait until morning, but she insisted. The walk was short, and the moon was full. She took the trail, humming to keep herself calm. Halfway through, she noticed something wrong. The crickets stopped, the trees were still, and her own footsteps felt quieter with each step, until she heard nothing at all, not the rustling of her bag, not the crunch of twigs underfoot, just complete silence. Then she saw him standing at the bend of the path, back turned, still, not moving, not shaking even with the wind. She blinked, and he was gone. She began to walk faster, and the silence moved with her like a bubble, swallowing every sound. Then a breath, not hers, just behind her, long, slow, steady. She ran. When she reached home, her family found her shaking, unable to speak. Her shoes were missing, and her clothes smelled like soil. She never used that trail again. Others have seen him too, but only when they are alone, always alone. One farmer said he saw the man outside his window at exactly 3:13, standing by the tree with no shadow, even though the moon was high. When he opened the door, no one was there, but footprints led toward the house, not away. There are no stories of him attacking or speaking. He does not knock or scream or chase. He only appears when silence falls. And once you notice the quiet, it means he's near. Some say he was a traveler who died on that trail, unheard, unseen, unfound, and now walks endlessly searching for someone who will notice him without making a sound. But no one ever does, because by the time you hear nothing, it's already too late. The one who waited under the bed in an old apartment building in the heart of Manila. There's a unit that's been passed between tenants for years, always affordable, always clean, always quiet, too quiet, its room to be small, with one window, facing a blank wall, no balcony, no view, only the soft echo of life outside, muffled as if the air itself doesn't want to disturb what's inside. They say the bed in that room has never been replaced, heavy, solid, built into the floor, as if meant to never move and no matter who lives there. They always mention one thing: the feeling that someone is underneath watching. Jen, a freelance writer, moved into the unit during a stormy August. She liked the stillness, the quiet, the way the lights never flickered, and the air stayed cold even without a fan. But the bed creaked too often. Even when she wasn't on it one night, while writing, she dropped her pen. It rolled beneath the bed. And when she bent down to reach it, her hand brushed something cold, soft, breathing. She pulled back, froze, waited, told herself it was just her imagination, then heard it, a voice no louder than a whisper: "Don't leave." Yet it's almost time. She turned on every light, checked under the bed. Nothing there, just her pen. And a slight imprint on the dust, like someone had been lying there looking up at her for a very long time. The next night, she placed salt around the frame, placed a mirror beside the bed facing down, woke up. And the salt had been moved, the mirror cracked. She started sleeping on the couch. A week later, her neighbor knocked, said she looked pale, said she heard voices coming from Jen's unit late at night, giggling, sighing, breathing. Jen barely spoke, just smiled weakly, and said it's okay now, he just wants company. No one saw her after that. When the landlord came to check the unit, he found it empty, the lights off, the bed neatly made, and underneath it a piece of paper with one sentence written in red marker: "I didn't leave, I just went under. Now room 2B is still listed, still cheap, still quiet. But tenants never stay more than a few weeks. They all say the same thing: the bed feels too heavy, and the air under it too cold, like something is holding its breath and waiting for yours to stop." The mirror in room 11. There's an old inn in La Union, barely known, not listed online, no signs by the road. But the locals know it's still open, only to walk-ins, only to strangers just passing through, the kind of place you find by accident when you're too tired to keep driving inside. Everything is still clean, too clean, the walls white, the tiles cold, the front desk always empty, with a small bell that rings on its own when no one's looking. But no one talks about room 11. Room 11 is the only one with a full-length mirror facing the bed. People say when you sleep there, you'll wake up just before dawn, not because of noise, not because of dreams, but because the room feels wrong, like someone else is breathing in sync with you, but not from the same side of the room. They say the mirror doesn't reflect properly. It shows things slightly late, like it's remembering instead of mirroring. Daniel, a traveling salesman, stayed there once. The owner gave him the key without speaking, just pointed down the hall. He said the room smelled like rain, though the windows were sealed. That night he brushed his teeth and saw the mirror fog up, but he hadn't breathed on it. He wrote his name in the fog, then wiped it away. But when he looked again, it was still there. Later, while lying in bed, he glanced up and saw himself sitting in the chair across the room. Except he hadn't moved. He blinked, and the chair was empty. He didn't sleep at sunrise. He left the room without packing, drove 5 hours straight, and never came back. When the staff cleaned room 11, they found the mirror slightly cracked with handprints on the inside. No guest has lasted more than one night there. since locals say the mirror doesn't show who you are, it shows who would take your place if you let it. The door that wasn't there before. There's a small apartment complex in Laguna built in the 1990s, mostly quiet, mostly normal, but one unit always seems to change its layout every few months. Tenants say the furniture feels rearranged, windows, slightly shifted light switches moving from left to right. And sometimes a door appears where no door should be. Room 3F is where it happens most. No one lives there long. Armin, a nurse, moved in during the dry season, loved the low rent and quiet hallways, but on his third week, he noticed a thin wooden door beside the kitchen, one he swore wasn't there before. No frame, no knob, just a line in the wall like someone started building it. And stopped. He knocked. It knocked back. He opened the main door to run. But the hallway was dark, even though the building never loses power. When he looked back, the strange door was gone. The next day, he told the landlord, who just nodded and said, "Ignore it. It doesn't like attention." That night, the door was back, this time half open, and behind it, a dark, narrow hallway with no light, no sound, no end. He stared for too long, felt his body lean forward, even though his feet never moved. A soft voice echoed from inside, not loud, not urgent, just calm and cold. "This is where you belong now." He blacked out. When he woke up, the door was gone again. But dust was on his socks, and something had written on the mirror above his sink, "Thank you for looking." He moved out the next day. Now anyone who stays in room 3F is told not to look at that side of the kitchen for too long, not to knock, not to speak, and above all, never open a door they don't remember being there before, because once you see it, it sees you too. And if you listen too closely, you'll hear it breathing behind the wall, waiting for someone to invite it through. The light beneath the floor in a quiet barangay deep in the mountains of Bengt. There's an old wooden house left untouched. Since the 80s, its roof rusted, its windows sealed with plastic. The neighbors don't talk about it unless you ask directly. Even then, they only say don't step inside after dark. Years ago, the house belonged to a man named Tito, and Zoe, a school janitor who rarely spoke and never left town. People said he heard things under his floorboards, soft tapping at first, then whispers in Ilocano, repeating the same phrase again and again. "We're still here." He tried to cover the floor with rugs. He tried to sleep with music on. But nothing helped. The light came next, a soft glow under the cracks between the floor planks, dim yellow, almost warm, moving slowly from one end of the room to the other like something pacing beneath his bed. When he tried to remove a board to check what was underneath, he screamed. No one knows what he saw, but he never opened the door again. Weeks passed, and the neighbors noticed the lights still turned on every night. Even when power was out, the glow under the floor still moved, even though no one entered, no one left. Then one day he vanished. No one found a body, no signs of a struggle. The only clue was a small hole in the floor at the center of his bedroom, surrounded by dark handprints. Now the house remains silent during the day, but at night, those who pass by say they hear faint breathing, and if they stop, they might see the glow still shifting under the wooden boards, waiting for footsteps. Above, some say the light is trying to lure someone, and others say it's trying to escape. But all agree once you enter the house and see the glow, your shadow will stay behind even after you leave. The grave with no name on the edge of a small rice field in antique, hidden behind wild grass and crumbling stones. There's a grave that doesn't belong to any family in the barangay, no name on the marker, no dates, just a slab of cracked cement, and a wooden cross tied with black string. No one remembers who was buried there, no stories, no records, only warnings. Farmers who work too close say they feel watched. They say their carabaos refuse to step near the spot. Even birds avoid landing there. And at night, the strange lights hover low like lanterns, moving slowly across the rice stalks, disappearing. When followed, Tita May at once placed flowers there, thinking it was a forgotten resting place. The next morning, her garden was dead, every plant dried overnight, the soil black and soft like ash. She never went near it again. A teenager named Joel tried to record the grave with his phone, dared by friends. The screen glitched, the audio turned to static, and a faint voice whispered something he couldn't translate. That night his bedroom smelled like smoke. He dreamed of standing in a field waist deep in water, unable to move, with someone breathing inches from his neck. But no reflection on the water, no voice, no shadow, just presence. He woke with dirt on his feet and mud on his sheets. The elders say it was a child buried in secret long ago, not from illness, not from violence, just hidden away, forgotten, buried under the wrong moon. They say the grave is empty now, that whatever was inside left a long time ago, and waits for someone to remember its name so it can return. Those who try to speak at the grave say they forget words mid-sentence, like their thoughts are being erased. Some have seen footprints forming around the stone, while the air stands still. And one boy claimed he saw small fingers press through the soil, then vanish, as if warning him not to come back. Now no one touches it, no one speaks its location aloud, and the fields grow around it in a perfect circle, untouched, like the land knows where not to grow. The mattress left on the road. Here's a stretch of highway near San Mateo, where the road narrows just before a sharp curve, surrounded by tall grass and unfinished houses. Nothing strange during the day, but at night drivers say they sometimes see an old mattress lying in the middle of the lane. Always the same one, covered in faded blue floral fabric, stained along the edges, shaped like someone had just stood up from it. People think it's garbage someone dumped until they slow down and realize it's always perfectly aligned, always at the center, never tossed or folded, just waiting. One tricycle driver named Jammer swerved around it and checked his rear view, but it was gone 2 minutes later. He saw it again ahead of him, exactly the same position, same stains. He turned around and went back to town the next night. He passed that road again, and the mattress wasn't there. But when he got home, he saw something strange. His own bed looked wrong, not messy, not dirty, just wrong, like it wasn't the one he had left that morning. The sheets too smooth, the pillows slightly sunken, the mattress a little lower, like someone had lain on it. While he was gone, he brushed it off, slept anyway. But around 2 a.m., He felt a weight near his legs, not heavy, not violent, just pressure like someone small. Was sitting there not moving. He didn't open his eyes. He didn't sleep again. Others have said the same. If you drive past the curve and ignore the mattress, it finds another way in through your sleep, through your bed, through the quiet part of your house, when no one's awake. Some say it's not a ghost, but a resting place, something that moves from road to room, from street to skin. And if you ever stop and touch it, if you ever lie down just for a second, you'll feel the air grow cold and hear a whisper from inside the foam. Now, we wait for them to switch. The room that changed each night. There's a small boarding house in Quezon City with 6 rooms, 1 shared bathroom and creaky wooden stairs, cheap rent, good location, quiet neighbors. But room 4 always has vacancies, no matter how many times it's rented out. Tenants say the room is fine during the day, clean window, working lights, neutral walls. But every night something changes. A chair moves closer to the door, a shadow appears on the wall, but nothing casts it. Sometimes the wallpaper is peeling when it wasn't before. Or a new crack appears on the ceiling shaped like a hand. A student named Rika moved in thinking the stories were just exaggerations. She loved the privacy, but couldn't shake the feeling that someone else was in the room, not watching, not standing, just existing quietly like a second presence, tucked just out of sight. She locked the door, each night pushed her luggage against it, left the lamp on. But she still woke up with the chair facing her bed, her backpack, zipped open, her toothbrush slightly wet even though she hadn't used it. One night she placed flour by the door, a trick she learned online to catch movement. When she woke up, the flour was undisturbed, but a second pair of bare footprints appeared near the foot of her bed, then vanished halfway across the floor as if someone walked into the wall. She stayed up the next night, and at exactly 2:13 a.m., her lamp flickered. The mirror on the wall reflected the bed, but not her. She stared at the glass, and the version of her inside began to smile slowly, even though her own face was still frozen. She packed the next morning, left without asking for her deposit. The landlady just nodded, said she'd seen it before. Now room 4 stays mostly empty. And when someone dares to move in, the neighbors wait for the first report. The missing sock, the flickering lamp, the soft sound of breathing behind the closet door. Everyone says the room doesn't want to hurt you, it only wants to be noticed. And once you do, it remembers you even when you leave.
If you enjoyed this terrifying story, let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button to help us bring more cursed tales and dark legends to life. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, but warn them first. And if you dare, subscribe to this channel, because here in Pinoy Phobia, the horror never ends. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next cursed story, spine-chilling folklore, or true paranormal encounter from the shadows of the Philippines. Remember, some stories are meant to be heard, but others are meant to be warnings. Thank you for watching, and remember, whatever happens, don't look back.